Shining the light on our community. This is our sacred community that is sacredyou.love. If you want to check us out and take a look at our website, we have a variety of beautiful hosts that will give you so many juicy points to really dive into and learn about. Today, though, what we are going to be talking about is understanding your consciousness, and we have the lovely Jennifer Urezzio. Did I pronounce your name
You
correctly?
did a great job, and I'm just happy you called me lovely. So you could pronounce my name any way you want.
And so I want to just share with you a little bit about Jennifer. So Jennifer is the founder of Soul Language, a paradigm that puts tangibility to soul so a conscious connection can be established to enable crystal clear decisions for success. Jennifer is also a master intuitive and the author of 2 best-selling books. Currently, she has trained over 30 practitioners worldwide in soul language. Currently, there are over 5,000 individuals all over the world connecting to their soul languages. So I want to hear about understanding consciousness, because that is a big topic right now, especially with AI and some of the things that are coming up around AI and using consciousness and all those things. And that's not the direction we're going in yet. It is at the top of mind, I think, for a lot of people. So can you kind of give us a little insight into the consciousness and maybe how the soul language is connected to consciousness?
Yeah. So when I was kind of starting about 20 years ago, I was really focusing on my intuition, right? Building that intuition, understanding how that muscle works. And I had this mentor who I suddenly realized that being highly intuitive didn't mean that you were highly conscious. And
Mm.
what I mean by that is consciousness to me represents a operation operating from a place of wholeness and completeness. And if I'm whole and complete, and I believe that, or I'm working to believe that, then I also have to treat everyone else like they're whole and complete. And to me, that's what consciousness is about. It's about coming from that place of knowing that place inside of you, that essential nature, that soul that knows that you've never been hurt, that you're not broken, that you're loved, supported, and provided for. And that's a constant choice. And I think that there is a lot of buzz about consciousness across the board. And I think a lot of people are practicing consciousness not from an embodiment place, but from a mind place. Right.
Mm.
And so they think, and the key word is think, they think that they're operating consciously and they're really kind of just outsmarting themselves and being very sneaky in their patterns. So I'll give you a perfect example. So I was talking to a friend of mine, and she was talking about this conversation that she was having with this woman who's practicing consciousness, and they were talking back and forth, and the woman kept saying, oh yes, I do that, oh yes, I know that, oh, and and that's really not operating consciously. That's operating from a place of I need to be perfect. I'm keeping score in all of the things I'm healing, and I'm really convinced the more I know, the less I know. And really, right, the more you go back into that connection of whatever you call your higher power and that place of that soul place,
Yes,
you're just going to operate differently. And
right.
that's what I teach people. And that's what I'm interested in participating in every day. And some days I'm really good at it, and some days I am just not. And that's okay.
Mm-hmm. Isn't that part of being, I always call that as being in your excellence. And excellence is a tricky word, right? People automatically think, oh, it's like perfection. And
Yeah.
yet it's not perfection. It's just being as excellent as you can each day, no matter what that looks like.
Yeah.
And so I love that you said, the more you know, the less you know,
My
because I
God.
think that's so true. You know, the more that you peel back layers and have new discoveries of your identity, the more you get to unravel those various parts of yourself, right?
Yeah.
And is that relating to your consciousness?
Yeah. I
Is
mean,
that
for me, consciousness is really about operating from a place that doesn't operate from pain or programming, right?
yeah, yeah.
That's not making decisions, comments, interactions, attractions based on some experience that has left a mark on you, whether good or bad, but
Yeah.
really making decisions based on what's in the greatest good of all, which means in your greatest good. Because when you make a decision in your greatest
Mhm.
good, you're making it truly in your greatest good. You're making it on everyone's greatest good, whether we agree with it or not.
It's true,
Right.
right?
Right.
Yeah.
And so I think we're so used to, especially in business, especially in kind of that online world, we're
Mhm.
taught to, well, what does the client want and what does the client need, and mold yourself. And we're taught that from kindergarten, actually, right? Like, I tell this story about my best friend's kid who's 18 now, but when he went to like kindergarten or pre-K, he was dropped off into the car and the teacher went, "There's nothing in Eric's green folder today. He chose not to participate." And Erin called me. She's like, "Oh my God, there's nothing in his." I was like, "What are you freaking out about? Since that kid has popped out of the belly, we've asked him, what does he want and what does he need? And today he chose not to participate. And now we're going to tell him that that's wrong." Like can you imagine having the wholeness and completeness, the solidness in you to go, "I'm choosing not to participate in this thing." Right? It
Yeah.
doesn't resonate with me. That is extremely powerful. And that
Yes.
allows you to do some really powerful creating in your
Mhm.
world. And the way I teach people to do that is by understanding their essential nature, that thing called soul. Because we're funny, like human beings love words for things, right? So when we can name it, then we can
Mhm.
like really accept it or resonate with it more, or we have a structure around it.
Right.
So I downloaded a paradigm and I started identifying people's 3 core energies of soul, and I kept hearing the same thing. "Oh my God, are you in my head? Oh my God, can I accept this? Wait, there's words for what I know deep down inside." And then it allows people a very beautiful jumping off structure to move from pattern and pain to
Mhm.
consciousness. So I'll use me as example. So my soulful personality, I have the hiccup. So if I hiccup, excuse me. My
It's all right.
soulful, my soulful personality is called graceful warrior. That's that energy of my soul that prefers certain things. So
Mhm.
graceful warriors consciously are action, movement, courage, and grace. Unconsciously makes war with everything. I have crashed cars because I was out of consciousness, right?
Mm.
So when I'm in a suffering phase, whether it's a little tiny bump or like sitting on the couch eating cheese, which is what I do when I'm sad, right?
I love cheese.
I do love cheese. You can't go wrong. My goal, as an aside, is to learn how to say cheese in every language, just so you know,
I love
right?
that goal.
I mean, it's a great goal. But
Good goal.
so I can go back to my soul language identification
Mhm.
definition. I can go back into that connection with that energy and go, what's going on? What am I making war with? What
Mhm.
fear, what experience am I making war with my life or my boyfriend or my money or whatever? I can hear direct guidance from my soul and the divine to move from pain and programming into consciousness. And that's powerful. And it allows people to access what they truly know, but are
Mhm.
afraid to name or step into.
Mhm. I love that. So is graceful warrior, right? Is that correct? Is
Yes.
that like the archetype for your personality? Is
It's
that correct?
archetypes. I'm a little persnickety about that word because
Okay.
archetypes technically don't evolve. The
Okay.
energy of soul evolves, but yes, it's the structure of
Okay.
how I prefer to do things. So
Got
I
it.
prefer to do things with action and
Yeah.
courage. I can get more done in 15 minutes than anyone can do all day long. Right. So
Hmm.
I have warrior nature, which means I'm fiercely loyal, which
Hmm.
means I have a lot of courage. Those are the conscious parts of it.
Right.
The
Yes. Yes.
unconscious parts of it is I could be a lone wolf. I could be sitting, and this is a true
Hmm.
story. Okay, so picture it.
Okay.
I'm in a giant, it was like an event space. I'm
Hmm.
in Mexico with bunches of people I don't know. I'm on a pilgrimage, and they're all getting up and leaving because the session is over. And I have such a bad fever that I'm shivering. And I'm thinking to myself, I might die here. Like, that's how bad I feel. And I am refusing to ask for help because I'm afraid to be vulnerable.
Mm.
Right.
Yeah.
That's graceful warrior, so to speak, on crack. Right.
Right.
Like, I'm not
Right.
that anymore. Right. I learned, I've
Right.
evolved. Right.
Yes.
But, right. But when we get locked down in our pain, and pain is boring, we all have the same sort of pain. The parts of it, or the kind of the descriptions are different, but it's kind of all the same. Your
Yeah.
connection, who you are in an essential down core, is the interesting bits. And
Hmm.
most of us don't know how to express that, or are afraid
Yes.
to.
Right.
Right. And
Right.
so we're working out all of our pain and programming in every interaction that we are experiencing in the world. So if
Hmm.
you have a business and you're operating from pain and programming, you're putting that energy into your business, which will make it implode or explode. And neither of those are a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. You've given like a container, right? So that you can operate in, and it helps you to recognize and discern when you are not being conscious and you are
Exactly.
operating from pattern.
Yeah.
So that makes it more cut and dry, so you can identify that soul language versus what's going on in your mind.
Right.
And
And you can have that conversation, right? Like, there's
yes,
always a place to go home and listen, we all need help, right? I have
yeah,
people, you have
yeah,
people.
right.
Sometimes we just can't see what we can't see because
That's
we
right.
keep asking the same questions,
Hmm.
right? I'm a really good question asker. And I'm saying that because people tell me that all the time. I
Yeah.
ask really good questions, right? That's what my job is. My job is to help you understand your energy in a way that
Hmm.
resonates with you, and help you come up with really good questions so you can create profound safety internally. And when we feel profoundly safe internally, we
Hmm.
can create anything externally.
Yes. Yes, that's absolutely beautiful. I
Thank
love
you.
that. So tell me a little bit more about the soul language. What brought you to, discover this, and how did you, put this container together? I'm saying container because it's the easiest word that I have
Not
to
a
describe.
problem.
So,
Yeah, we call it a paradigm. Container is great. I love that.
okay.
I might footnote you because I love that. Um, so I was asking in 2008, I was asking really big questions. And
Hmm.
they were, hey, God, I'm really pissed off. Where
Yeah.
are my people? I know that there's something bigger inside of me. I know what my life purpose is, but what's going on? And
Hmm.
why do I like this person? I was at a conference. Why do I like this person across the way? But I really don't care. No judgment. If I ever see this other person again, what the heck is that? Now I'm asking these big
Yeah.
questions. And as God does, then that's what I call my higher power. God decides to answer me as I'm covered in mud on a massage table. And God goes, that's soul language. And I go to the woman who's covering me in mud, please get me a pen. She's like, what? I'm like, please get me a pen. And that was the moment I started downloading the material. And I spent
Wow.
about a year asking questions. And
Hmm.
before long, I had a paradigm of the
Yeah.
107 core energies of soul, 3 different
Hmm.
categories. how do we identify a person's soul languages, the definitions. And I started identifying people, and they kept saying the same thing. Oh my God, you
Mm.
just told me what I know deep down inside.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
now we have 30 practitioners. We've identified close to 6,000 people worldwide. We're
Nice.
doing business soul because we can identify
Mhm.
the energy of your business. We're doing community soul because we can identify the energy of your community. And Jennifer Bloom does the money languages because we can identify the energy between you and money in that relationship.
Okay.
And
Beautiful.
yeah, so it becomes this, you start to see, once you understand your soul languages, you start to see all of the energetic connections of the universe,
Mhm.
and you
Mhm.
stop taking things so personal.
Right. It all, you can sort of see the puzzle pieces just start to connect and fit together. And then there's
Yes.
no need for all of the push and all of um the distractions that we allow ourselves to go off of in our minds, the
Yeah.
thoughts that trail off into everything. Um, so how long does it take someone to understand their soul language to where they start to get good at, I wouldn't, well, start to master it? How do they
Yeah.
get to
I
that
think,
place?
well, I've been doing it since 2008, and I founded the paradigm, and I'm still, you know, working it.
Right.
I think it's practice, practice, practice. It's
Yeah.
really how much you want to be completely honest with yourself, how much you
Mm-hmm.
want to tune in. The identification process takes less than 10 minutes. And we usually do an hour session to familiarize people with their 3 core energies, their personal soul languages. Um, I had this client, it's got to be 15 years now, that, like, I never really do local clients. Occasionally I do, right?
Yeah.
But he was local, and I would see him out in a restaurant, and he had his soul languages identified. Like, or I would see him, last time I saw him was 5 years ago. So that he had his soul languages identified about 10 years ago. And every time I see him, he would like, I listened to my session today. I'm like, you're
Mm-hmm.
still listening to your session? And he's like, yes. And I learned even more. So the more that you connect, the deeper you go. It's a springboard. It
Yeah.
is a lifelong process of, because
Yeah.
as we evolve, our ego, and let's not demonize ego, because
No.
without ego, right? I wouldn't have gotten
Yeah.
up this morning,
Necessary.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Right. But as our soul evolves, our ego on crack evolves as well, right? It becomes
Hmm.
sneakier. So
Yeah.
it's a constant tool. You get into a rhythm at,
Hmm.
like, at all evolution, and then you will plateau, and
Right.
then something will happen. And
Hmm.
because the soul is always going more, more,
Right.
more,
Deeper
right?
lean in. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And we humans, because we're silly
Hmm.
humans, we misinterpret that as not enough, not enough, not enough, right?
Yes. Yes.
Right. So we're always evolving. So you're always asking more. So there'll be a challenge or a blip or an awareness that allows
Hmm.
you to even go deeper. So I hope I answered your question.
Oh, absolutely. And I love that you're bringing up that point, because I think that so often we think, oh, we just, once we know the answer or get what we conceive as an answer, then we think, okay, we're done. We're done. And using the word master can be tricky because people think it's a one and done, and it's
Yeah.
not. It's a continuous process. And even when something revisits you, when you're back in this place and you think, oh, I failed, I thought I worked on this, blah blah blah, yet really what it is right, you've risen to a level that you now have something else to know.
Yeah.
And so I love that you have this way of bringing people into traveling that language within themselves, so that they can continue to explore, continue to deepen, and release the things that keep us trapped in this
Yeah.
it's not easy to manage this 3D existence of
No, it takes
experience.
practice and it takes humor and it takes,
Yes.
like, uh, you almost have to go, okay, let's do it.
Yeah.
I very rarely identify a person who has my same languages.
Mm.
And I did it like about a year and a half ago. And I was reading the definition to her. And I was like, one moment, please. She's like, is there something wrong? I was like, no, I'm just laughing at myself because look, I'm doing that and I'm doing that and I'm doing that and I'm doing that. I'm like, So I always tell people to at least read their definitions again once a year
Mm.
because you're going to gain more insight and then you're going to go, oh, is that what I mean? I've had
Right.
people had their identification and come back 2 years and go, I want a refresher course because now I'm ready for the next level of all of the new information that's available to me. Right. I think so often, especially people who've moved really big rocks in their
Yeah.
journey, meaning really big boulders of
Right.
pattern, right?
Hmm.
Then people don't realize that they're just moving little bits of sand, right? And that's what I'm really good at. I think, my people are like, there's a pebble in my shoe about this consciousness. I've taken off my shoe, I've shook it out, put the shoe, and I'm like, wait, the pebble's still there, right? I'm really good at
Yeah.
seeing the pebble, right? That's what we're doing. That's an ongoing thing. And I
Hmm.
think so often people um, want the big golden ticket moment. And in
Right. Yeah.
consciousness, there's so many little moments that
Mhm.
grow into the big ticket.
Yes. And like I don't know if there's been a time, and I'm sure there has in our history that, we have so much access, so much knowledge. I mean, maybe there hasn't been. I'm sure
There
there hasn't.
hasn't. I mean,
We are
there
in a whole different
hasn't.
realm. Yeah.
No, I mean, I can tell you the moment that, or the episode, the experience that happened, and it was really around the world within minutes. And that was
Mm,
JFK, right?
yeah.
Now it's not even seconds, right?
Oh,
Something
right,
happens,
right.
it's everywhere.
Yeah, we
And,
know it.
right. And having that much knowledge is great,
Hmm.
but you need to embody it.
Right.
And I think when people are on a spiritual journey or an evolutionary journey, they try to do 16 million tools at
Yes.
once. And then they're like, I'm getting nowhere. Stick with one, keep
Right.
practicing it, keep
Hmm.
going deeper. Um, because we're so instant gratification that we don't, if we don't get instant gratification, we
Yeah.
think we're doing it wrong. You
Right.
know,
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt
no,
you.
you go.
That just reminded me of something you said earlier when you said that we get really sophisticated, I'm paraphrasing, around how we think about things. So we think that we're not thinking, right? Yet we've really logicked it out to manipulate ourselves into thinking
Hmm.
that we've done something bigger than we have really, and yet we've really just stood still. And that's really part of the human condition.
Yeah.
It's part of what the ego's job is to do, is to keep you safe. And that's a protection, right? So if that's the case, then, and there was another question, I had two questions. So I wanted to point that out and also ask you about how many languages does a person have? Is it specific, or can they have as many? Or is it
No, it's
really just
only
who they
three.
are?
So you
Okay.
have one language in three different categories: your mission, how you'll
Okay.
be known here, and then your soulful personality, which is really about preference. So
Okay.
when you understand the three, I give people a one liner, and that becomes their mild marker of consciousness. They're not being and doing that, they're going to create struggle. So my mild marker of consciousness is I create balance for myself, because it all starts at home, and
Mm-hmm.
others through love, integrity, and courage. So if I'm
Mm,
not being and doing that, I'm creating struggle.
right.
Right. And so that becomes a like, oh. I'm not happy today, or I'm struggling today. Okay, let's tune in. Like,
Yeah.
where do I need to up the balance? Where am I out of integrity for myself? Where am I just trying to be courageous for the sake of doing it, or being at war? And it
Yeah.
becomes this simple, not easy, but simple way
Mhm.
of moving through your life with grace.
Yes. Yes. It reminds me of identifying your values and using your values as a way to make decisions, as a way to put up boundaries, etc. Makes it simple. If you know what you value the most at your core, then it makes it a lot easier for you to make those kinds of decisions. So I love the soul languages in these three different categories to really look at, where's my pattern? What is it that is tripping me up, and where is that coming from? And have I already identified it? And you can see a lot clearer that way. It gives you like a nice little set of glasses to put on
Yeah.
so you can
And
clarify.
yeah, and also it allows you also to highlight yourself, right? So
Yeah.
one of the mission languages is called Pioneer. I love pioneers. I track them,
Mhm.
right? So pioneers are always forging new roads, right? So if a pioneer is in their business, they can go listen to their possible client. I'm going to help you forge a new road here. And it will resonate true, right?
Yeah.
So they also know that, hey, that is a supreme gift. Let me leverage it. Let me utilize
Yeah.
it. Let me talk about it. Let me accept it. Because in their childhood, they could have been like, why do you have to do so many things? Why are you not part of the crowd? Huh.
Mm.
I'm not designed that way, right? This is a gift. Now, I'm not a
Right.
pioneer, but for coaches, for master healers
Mhm.
who have a business, we identify 5 of your people, you're going to know who your ideal client is instantaneously, because we
Mm.
tend to collect the same energy. And that also
Yeah.
makes marketing kind of a piece of cake, because we all know people freak out about marketing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. Especially the entrepreneur and the spiritual entrepreneur
Yes.
specifically.
Yes, because
Um,
they're afraid to declare what they really are and who they are
yes.
being.
Yes. Yeah. Um, I mean, we could go off on that. What I wanted to bring it back though was, you mentioned embodiment, and I would love you to kind of give your take on embodiment and what that really means, because I think we hear the word so often, and it's sort of like one of those, oh yes, I need to embody it, yet no one really quite necessarily understands what that means and how
Yeah.
to get there.
So to me, it means that every cell in your body is vibrating at that consciousness, that level. So do you want
Mhm.
to try something with me?
Yeah, sure.
Okay,
Love
so we're going to use your body's divine intelligence to activate a consciousness level so you can feel what embodiment feels like.
it. Okay.
So if I use words you guys don't understand, just kind of get on my bus with me. So if it resonates with you and you're not driving, please close your eyes and you're going to repeat after me. Divine intelligence,
Divine intelligence,
fill my body
fill my body
with the feeling and knowing
with the feeling of knowing
of divine safety.
of divine safety.
And just tell me what happens.
So the first thing that happened, even when I said the word divine, I felt my cells perk up. And then I felt even stronger, more secure, and more alive.
Beautiful. Then from this place, you would make decisions. So
Mm,
that's embodiment.
I can open my eyes, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's embodiment, right? That all of
Yeah.
your cells vibrating, making
Mm-hmm.
decisions from that place of consciousness or love or grace, or right. That's what it is. We embody fear all the time. You know
Yeah.
what it feels like when you are in fear, right? We don't have problems with that,
Right.
right?
That's true.
And fear is going to come up. We're not going to eradicate fear. We're not going to eradicate anything.
Mhm.
We're going to practice love submission. We are going to love ourselves until those parts of us submit and
Yeah,
release. And they
love
might come up again, and that's okay.
that. Right? That's just a deeper experience for you
Yeah,
to really
exactly.
love yourself even more. Yeah. So that's really beautiful. Is
Thank you.
there anything that you have coming up that you want to share, or that you would like people to know about yourself and your programs, and or
Yeah,
anything?
I've got a couple things. One, I am doing next week a 2-part series about, it's called Make It So, about transformation through the Trek characters.
Hmm.
Entertainment's fun, transformation's supposed to be fun. I love Star Trek. There's so much meat in Star Trek for transformation, so that's an upcoming class.
Okay.
I'm also have a new quiz. It's called What's Your Business Blind Spot? And it determines where you are energetically creating a drain in your business, whether it be money or your talent. And it's a really fun quiz. So that's on the website as well. Um, and then I offer a discovery session to anyone who wants it. It's my gift. There's no agenda. And we identify one of your soul languages. So, and we'll do some transformational work. It's 15 minutes. It's really 30. Don't tell anyone. Right. That gives people a really deep understanding and a tangible tool, because I'm a warrior and I have warrior energy. If it doesn't integrate into your daily life, I don't see the point. So
Right.
everything I do is rooted and grounded and actually creates transformation in the present and moving forward, and in the past too.
Mm.
But you can actually use it as tangible.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Thank you so much for
You.
coming and being here, and just having this conversation with us. I think that you've provided so much value,
Thank
and
you.
really, honestly, a lot of value. And it's just been a treat to like
Thank
hear
you.
about your program and all the
Thanks.
juiciness around it and what you're doing for the world. I mean,
Thank you. Thank you. It's been an honor and fun, and it just feels like 5 minutes went by, not a half an hour. So thank
I
you
know.
so much.
Thank you very much. It was lovely to have you here, Jennifer. And for everyone out there, please look at Jennifer's links below, and come check out our sacred community at sacredu.love. And I'm Josette Diaz, and we will see you next time. Thank you.